We're back, True Seekers. It's the midway point already. Thanks for tuning in. Derek and I were just having a good chat. We didn't hear the music on our end, and the next thing we knew it was commercial, so apologies for that. Happens sometimes. Derek had to drop off. He's a working man. He's got to do some things tonight. We got Jonathan joining us. Jonathan's always got the good analysis, keeping an eye on things with the sports. Jonathan, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. I know you got the roots in Miami. What's the word after Irma?
At my grandmother's house, a couple of trees went down. The roof of the shed flew off. But my uncle, he boarded up the house pretty good. So there's no electricity right now. There's no electricity still for like about maybe, I would say maybe half the city. I would say about maybe a third of the state is still, without electricity. Gas is spare. Like just to get gas, you gotta wait maybe 3 hours just to get some gas. Everywhere is low on water. But they knew all this they knew that this was gonna happen, and it's funny how they never prepare ahead of time, and they see the hurricane coming, a week or a week and a half in advance. So it's just people are just trying to get everything back in order. I'm actually in South Dakota.
All right, you said you were getting out. You said you were doing some work thing back there.
Yeah. So I'm just doing basically, I'm just doing some independent contractor work, and it's basically just work on my own schedule. So I left, but my neighbor gave me a report on my house in Tallahassee. Now, once it got to Tallahassee, it was a tropical storm, so the damage was real minimal. So like from what I got, my house is okay. I got 2 cars. My cars are okay. So, it wasn't as bad in Tallahassee because by the time I got there, it was a tropical storm. But some places got it bad, like Naples, Jacksonville. Tampa got it pretty bad. Of course, the Keys got it bad.
Naples got it. That's my girl.
So.
Yeah. And it happened September 10th, 2017. And when the storm broke on August 31st, I said that was the date with the hurricane numerology. And I said that day, well, we'd be looking back September 11th, looking at the damage of Florida, the same place George W. Bush was on the day of September 11th. And sadly, that's the way it was.
And, what's crazy is that, they told most people to evacuate from South Florida, which not everybody did, but so it's normally from Miami to Tallahassee. Normally it's about an 8-hour drive, eight or 9 hours. But we had I had my cousin pick my grandmother up from Miami and bring her to Tallahassee, and that took 24 hours. That's how bad the traffic was. A trip that's normally 8 hours took 24 hours. And, they were literally like going 3 miles an hour. And when they were going fast, 5 miles an hour, and then once my grandmother got to Tallahassee, my mom picked her up. My mom flew in from Houston, got a rental and drove her to Houston. And, she's up there in age, so we just had to make sure she was good, so.
Right. That was a good idea.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, but it's, it's really just a big game, it's like, they come up with these man-made storms, and then, it destroys houses, and then the people, if you got, most people they have, I guess you got to have homeowners insurance, right?
Yeah.
So then, after the damage, people collect on the insurance, and, it's really just like, to me, it's just really just like a sick game, and then they tell you donate to the Red Cross, which is the worst organization that you could ever donate to,
still free,
right.
So it's just like, it's like a double-edged sword, like they create all this damage. There's no water. It's impossible to get gas. There's, a shortage on bread apparently. And then after that, they tell you to donate to the Red Cross. It's just a big joke. It's sick.
It is sick, man, and it just ultimately makes a bunch of money for the tyrants is the reason they do it, and it keeps everybody else in a chaotic state, which they love. Jonathan,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
We just got hooked up with the call board, and there's been a dude who's been hanging on hold all night from the beginning of the show. So
Okay.
I just want to let him say hello real quick, and if he's got a question for you or me, that's perfectly fine. But he's been on all night, so
Cool.
Pennsylvania, are you there?
I was just listening, eating a salad, so you could have let me hold a little bit longer. But that's
Bad timing. Hey, do you want to go back to hold, man? I can come back to you.
Well, it's not a big deal. I can say what I need to say so you guys can carry on. But I just wanted to talk about, there are a few things that I've noticed as far as things that you've mentioned that I've seen come across the mainstream media and the television, and I wanted to share them with you. I didn't know if you were aware of them. There's a station called True TV, and there's a show called Adam Ruins Everything. Huh. And the first time I had ever heard the Columbus story, Columbus didn't find America and came over and slaughtered a bunch of Indians. Well, basically the premise of this show is he takes something and he ruins it. He basically exposes it for the fraud that it is. And this one particular episode was geared towards elementary school and what you were taught in school. And a third of the show was dedicated to basically everything that you had said about Christopher Columbus coming over to America, which kind of blew me away. You're starting to hear things that, I'm hearing things that you have said through a media outlet. Another particular instance that I can think of, there was one on medical care in hospitals, and they switched to a scene, and it's kind of a joke. He's just kind of pretending like he's blending into the background. He's facing the wall, and they're in a hospital. He's got a nameplate, like a door number on the back of his suit jacket, and they're on the third floor. He's standing in front of room 301 or 302, but the number on the back of his jacket happens to be 322, which, anyone watching that would have no clue what that is. But just because I listened to you and have followed you for a while, I made the connection. And there's just a lot of really interesting things that they throw in there, that they code in there that, to the normal person would have no idea what they were talking about.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing I wanted to bring up to you.
Hey, before you go on to your next point, I just wanted to look up the show because I'd actually never heard of it. And what I noticed is the first episode was September 29th, 2015, 929. The United States of America in Jewish Gematria is 929. That's the number of chapters there are in the Old Testament. And we talk about that a lot. That's also the day that leaves 93 days left in the year, the number for Saturn, the keeper of time. So just from the release date and what you're saying, the show's about going through American history and whatnot, it makes sense. I'm going to have to check this out. I appreciate
Yeah, it's interesting. The other thing I wanted to, am I still on?
Yeah, you're still on, man.
Okay, yeah, the other thing, do you watch anonymous videos? I'm pretty sure you've called that controlled opposition, correct?
Yeah, anonymous equals 137, 33rd prime. It's obvious that they're the federal government.
Right. I've seen a few of them, and YouTube will recommend that I watch a certain one if new ones come out. Well, This happened to me about a week ago. I've been dying to call you. I wanted to call last week and tell you this, but you didn't take any callers last week. But this particular one, I don't know if there's anonymous knockoffs or I don't know. I don't know that much about it, but this particular one, it was labeled anonymous, and it was called North Korea false flag. Oh. And, false flag is another term that I've, exclusively learned from you. I haven't really heard that outside until I seen this video. And it was set up like an anonymous video, so if it was a knockoff, it had me fooled. But it's about 21 minutes long, and he goes on talking about how, you know, North Korea, it's all a big game. It's all a big show. And he gets towards the second half of the video and he brings up the point that you had made about Kim Jong-un being 33 years old for 2 years in a row. Really? And that kind of floored me because I had heard you say that. and I'm just like, what's going on here? And shortly after that, they started talking about a code being put in front of your eye, and they showed a screenshot of the Gematrinator. What? I can't remember the phrase that they had. Yeah.
What?
You'll have to look. You'll have to look it up. It didn't say Gematrinator on there anywhere, so it wasn't credited to you guys.
Okay.
But it was most definitely, you know, that they had the four major ciphers that you have on the main page as soon as you look it up. And I can't remember the phrase. I think it was like a gut punch or a knockout punch or something like that. It didn't really have anything to do with what they were talking about as far as I could tell. But but they showed that, and they talked
and
about
what show is this again?
Put in front of you. This was anonymous, an anonymous video on YouTube.
Okay, wow. I gotta find this one. And he says about 21 minutes long.
Yeah, it's called the title was anonymous, and then it was North Korea false flag.
Okay, I'm gonna look for it after the show.
Hey, what's the name of the show you mentioned just a little while ago?
It was Adam Ruins Everything.
Yeah.
Adam Ruins Everything.
It's on True TV.
Adam Ruins Everything. Okay, got it.
And that's really all I had for now. I'll let you guys go.
Well, you got a lot, man. I'm glad you hung on hold for so long. I'm sorry you had to wait. I appreciate it. Great information. No, call us back soon, man. You have a good night.
Sure. You too.
All right. That's just what I love about more people having the eyes to see. I mean, imagine if just everybody was awake. We'd see it all. So
Right. I never heard of that show.
I hadn't before either. I got to check it out.
Huh.
Did you hear about this shooting at the school today up here in Washington State?
Nah, I missed that. I was out working.
I was actually surprised because it made the local news right away here, and it had all the hallmarks for a national news story. And
you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh.
Jonathan, you there? Well, Jonathan,
you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, man. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Jonathan's got some sort of technical difficulty. We'll see if he comes back. But while he's fixing that, there was a school shooting reported in Washington State today. And I thought this was going to become the national news story like these school shootings always do. Last year at this time, there was a shooting in Texas, first week of the school year. Then there were another number of other shootings. I've noticed that ever since Sandy Hook, to start off the school year with the media cycle, there's a reported school shooting. And they've actually been using the Pacific Northwest an awful lot. There's been a whole lot of the Pacific Northwest. So this story comes out of Washington State. Washington State's the 42nd state. The word gun equals 42. This comes out of a small community in eastern Washington near the Idaho border, a town called Rockford in Spokane County. Look at this. We know that all of these shootings are Masonic rituals. Again, Washington's the 42nd state. Freemason equals 42. And today is September 13th, 13/9, like 139 for Freemasonry. The headline was 1 killed, 3 injured in school shooting, and the details were very vague. But think about it, 1 dead, 3 injured on the 13th. The name of the school shot up was Freeman, which is a lot like Freemason, and it reminds me, is that, you know, when the All for Truth website was being built, the one thing that kind of creeped me out a little bit is the main builder wanted to be called Freeman, and I just thought, Freeman, huh? And sure enough, it turned out the Freeman was not a sincere person, and there were a lot of signs. I was just hoping they were legit, because we need to get this movement on the ground, and it's hard to know who to trust in this world. But anyway, The shooting in Freeman High School, which has gematria of 94, just like Freeman High is 94. And this shooting, it happened in the town of Rockford, Washington, which equals 94. Let's not forget that 94 is the reflection of 49, and Washington's 49. But anyhow, if you write out 94 as a word, it sums to 147. Sort of the words Freemason, conspiracy.
Hey, Zach, I'm back.
And police. Hey, Jonathan. All right, you got reconnected. I'm glad you're back, man. You couldn't hear me for a minute. I'm just telling people about this school shooting today, which seemed like it was going to be a national news story, but then it didn't become one. And I'm wondering if something went wrong at the false flag, and that's why they didn't take it to the national level. Because it had all the hallmarks. And the town it happened in, Rockford, Washington, if you write it like how you do on an envelope, Rockford, Washington, WA, the abbreviation, it's 156, our false flag number, 911, the 156 prime. Just everything about this school coded out Freemason, connecting to the police. It comes on the Freemasonry Day. It follows the pattern we've seen in recent years of the false flag shootings with the ritualistic numbers. But by the way, Washington also has gematria 58, like Sandy Hook, like Freemasonry, like secret society. So anyhow, shooting by the numbers, for whatever reason, though, it didn't end up making it to the national level. It was definitely news here in Washington State. I'm sure it was news in Idaho, maybe some surrounding states. But for whatever reason, they did not take this to the national level. And I'd like to find out why that was.
Yeah, because I didn't hear about it here in South Dakota.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So did somebody get shot and killed, supposedly, or?
Yeah, 1 killed, 3 injured. School shooting. Small town in Spokane County, eastern Washington.
Interesting.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it was a big local news story here. That's how I heard about it, and I was like, well, just a matter of time until it's a national news story, and that didn't happen.
Huh. But that's it's interesting. Like, I was talking about last week how America culturally conditions you to now these school shootings go on every week and it's like nothing. Like remember 10 years ago or however long ago it's been since Columbine, it was, it was a big 99, yeah, almost 20 years. So, it was a big deal. And now these shootings happen and it's almost like, we're like,
they're normal.
We're like desensitized. Yeah, it's like normal. We're desensitized to it or something.
Right. But what is happening is all the children, the children growing up who are in the public school system right now, they're getting the brunt of this because in school there's active shooter drills. So the children are growing up with this fear that, the crazy person could be in my school next. And at the school, everyone's practicing in case it happens. So it's on the consciousness of the children. And they're just breeding a generation to have more fear, more needless fear. That's the sickest part about it. And they're doing this at the beginning of every school year to set the tone, to set the mindset. Again, our education system is not here to empower us. It's here to socialize us. It's here to condition us to the way the tyrants want us to be. Not that right. Just like I got from the George Carlin clip at the beginning of the show. They don't want a society of well-educated and informed and critical thinkers. That's why they don't teach these things in school. They teach you nonsense. That Christopher Columbus discovered the land where people already were. And, it's amazing that more people don't think about it before it happens. So,
it's not education. It's indoctrination.
Yeah.
They're indoctrinating you into what they want you to know,
Right.
So
let's since we opened up the phone lines, a lot of people are calling in. Let's take some calls. If you got a question for Jonathan, who's always up on the sports knowledge, or myself, feel free to ask. Jonathan's here. Let's go out to Memphis, Tennessee.
Hey, Zach.
What's up?
Hey, what's up, man? It's been a little while since I've called, but I've been listening every week. Still watching the videos and stuff, man. Still trying to do.
Hey, what's up, man?
Research. Hey, Jonathan, what's up, man?
Not much.
But anyway, Zach, I was gonna call you tonight and tell you about the John Jones steroid propaganda BS. I had some good numbers on that, but dude, you and Jonathan were talking about the iPhone 9 being skipped. Okay, I don't know why they did that mathematically, but I just looked it up, and the reason that they say that they skipped the 9 is because the competition, I think Samsung was coming out with the same thing, like Samsung 8 and Samsung 9. And so to rebrand themselves and to put them ahead of the competition, they wanted to name it, because they said that people would just call it iPhone X instead of iPhone 10. And so it's kind of like a rebranding. I think that's just a clever excuse, really, because this article, there's not a lot of info on it. I just looked up this article. It's on The Verge. And this article is so fake, dude. It's called What Happened to the iPhone 9, and it is where I got that info about the rebranding and stuff. But I plugged in the numbers. It's written by a guy named Tom Warren. So, of course, Tom Warren is 46 in full and single reduction, and iPhone X is 46 in full and single reduction.
That's funny, because I just made the comment that if you add 1 through 10 but leave out 9, it equals 46. And then here, iPhone X is 46.
Yeah, I heard you say that.
What'd you say, Tom Warren's the name?
Yeah, Tom Warren.
Weird. Something's up.
So, I know, I heard that comment about 46. Yeah, you're right. Also, iPhone X is 26 in reverse full reduction, so like the God number. 35 in reverse single reduction, and iPhone X is iPhone X is 35 in full reverse single reduction, and Tom Warren is 53 in reverse single reduction. So like the inverse.
The word "I" is 35 as well, and I'm thinking about how this phone reads the human eye. Yeah, there's got to be something with that too.
Exactly, yeah. The post time was at 5:18. I was trying to find some like 8:15s or 5:18 somewhere in here, but I'm not seeing it just yet. But I didn't even know anything about this. I've been hearing some people talk about the iPhone, and I heard it was like $1,000 or something. And I think Derek said earlier it's like $999. So like
right, it's not. Yeah, exactly. And it's 33 years since their $666 computer that they released in '84. And again, computer in Gematria equals 666, just like internet. So flip it upside down, $999, the price tag on this phone.
Hey, but you know what I say, guys? You know, technology is way ahead of the people. You know, so it's way ahead of the people. And like for example, I got a Samsung 6. I guess they're like on the 9 now. I don't know. And I barely know how to use this thing. You know what I'm saying? And this is the 6. Right. You know, it's like I'm learning new stuff about this phone every day, and I've had it for like almost 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't keep up with the iPhones at all. Like, I forget, my dad bought me this iPhone I have right now. I forget which one it is. I want to say it's like the 5 or 5S or something, but I just try not to get into that stuff. I hear it all the time. All these kids around me are talking about the next iPhone. They come out with one every single year, and it's all some big hype, but I can't believe this iPhone X rebranding. It's supposed to be like the real deal, like all this face recognition and stuff.
I just want the basic phone functions: text, call, voicemail, internet. That's all I pretty much need, you know?
Look at this. I just typed in iPhone X to see what comes up when you write it that way, and the first headline that comes up on my Google search, I shouldn't be using Google, but I do like to see the way they're bringing up stories. iPhone X, when I type that in, the first story that comes up is this from the Chicago Tribune. The iPhone X proves the Unabomber was right. And I'm pretty sure I said earlier that the technology in Unabomber, too, I brought that up. So, yeah. We're being mocked, man. The Unabomber was born on the 142nd day of the year. The word terrorist equals 142. That was all a manufactured story. He was Ivy League. But it was all predictive programming, because technology is being used to destroy humanity. I mean, Look at the children today to see the negative impact of technology. They are not going outside. They're living in virtual reality. They're playing video games, which are addictive and too awesome. And you just see the obesity epidemic. That's just like one layer, but it's a major layer, and it's a major problem. People are growing up in front of screens. They're living through screens. Pretty soon everyone's going to be living in virtual reality, man. It's too much.
I know. My generation's the worst. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, we're dependent on our Instagrams and our Facebooks and stuff, and I tell my parents, I'm like, y'all are lucky. Y'all didn't live, like, growing up thinking about that stuff. Like, my parents, they met, they had to call each other and stuff. Like, there was no posting Facebook.
Something crazy is going on.
Yeah, I mean, when
Jonathan,
we grew up...
Jonathan,
yeah,
do you hear the noise? Do you hear the noise that I hear?
I hear it.
Not really.
It's like a long groan, like, you didn't hear that?
Yeah, it sounded demonic.
I heard a little, I heard something, yeah.
I know it's not coming from my end, and so I'm just trying to figure out whose end that's coming from. Yeah, that sounded crazy. But we're going to commercial. We'll figure it out over the break. We'll be right back, everybody.
All right. Yeah, I heard something.